Stroud is that, like, he's not in the same stratosphere as Bryce Young because he just makes plays, and I can't. I think you just got to tip your cap to CJ Stroud, like, because I haven't seen him play like that all year.
Yeah, we'll get more into CJ Stroud. He was phenomenal in just what he was able to do against the rush when Georgia was able to get home. He dodged a lot of sacks, just being really smart in the quick spins and rolling out and throwing off platform. Like, CJ Stroud he had the game he needed to, even in defeat, and we'll talk more about that in a second. But I want to start from Georgia's perspective, Matt Graham. How did Georgia come back and win this game in the fourth quarter?
It's hard to say. I think they were finally able to get some stops. I think the ultimate, like you said, the key play was that Javon Bullard hit on Marvin Harrison Jr. because they were not able to, which was not targeting, right? Can we agree on that? There's no chance that was targeting. I sent you the text
of the image. So people misconstrue like what that actually means, like what targeting actually is. And both games had some egregious non-targeting calls on both sides. But I will say, no, I think it was targeting because if you look at, I don't have my phone in here. Do you have the message I sent you with the rulebook of like what actually is defined by targeting? Like, it's actually in the rulebook of what people think it's just helmet to helmet, intentionally like lowering the crown and hitting someone head on and like trying to knock somebody out. That's not what it was. And then there are people who are like, well, he was leading with his shoulder. And it's like, well, no, we have a screenshot of like the helmet to helmet.
He's definitely leading with his shoulder, though. Like, yes, my question is this, though. What is Javon Bullard supposed to do in that situation to make a play on the receiver?
I think
that's the ultimate question.
I think you put your hands up.
Put your hands up. Like, what is that? Like, that's not going to prevent the...
No, what I'm saying is he's coming up from behind and he just puts his hands up to try and
I think the reality is CJ Stroud left his receiver out to dry. He put a pop-up into the back of the end zone, and there's a reason that's a dangerous play because the entire secondary is going to converge on you, and you're just a sitting duck. Like, there's no... The fact that you don't lead with your helmet, like you're seeing what you're hitting, like that's the whole point of the targeting play, leading with the crown. He definitely didn't lead with the crown. He led with the shoulder, like... The guy's on the ground. Like, how is he not going to hit him in the head or neck area? Like, it's the people that are crying over the targeting. I don't understand that at all. Because I want a legitimate alternative for what the defender should have done. Like, the defender has a right to try to break up a touchdown pass.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, he did, but it's still the result was he knocked him out. Like, he was concussed from the hit.
Because he hit the shit out of him.
Right, and I'm not...
That's football.
But it was still helmet to helmet. Like, there was this idea that...
It was not helmet to helmet. He definitely led with the shoulder.
No. It's not about what led. It's what happened. He may have led that way, but the helmets collided. If you look at this freeze frame, like, it's right there. That's what knocked him out. Like, it wasn't just him falling over.
I mean, he also drilled the ground, and
his
head drilled the ground when he hit the... I mean, he got rocked. Like, that's what happens in football. You get rocked, you can get a concussion. Like,
well, here's what I found, by the way, and this is Chris Mykrantz on Twitter who posted this. Article 4 from the rulebook. No player shall target and make forcible contact to the head or neck area of a defenseless opponent with the helmet, forearm, hand, fist, elbow, or shoulder. This foul requires that there be at least one indicator of targeting. When in question, it is a foul. So, like, that is what happened there. He is defenseless.
I don't think anyone... It's not called that way, though. So it's like, for the intents and purposes, like the way targeting is called, like leading with the crown of the helmet and launching into a defenseless player, like that's what you're trying to take out of the game. You can't just prevent a player on the ground from getting hit in the head or the shoulders. Like, he's on the ground. Like, how is this defender supposed to react? Like, you have to give a defender a legitimate alternative for like how he should be trying to defend the offensive player. And like that guy, the fact that he didn't lead with clearly he's making a conscious decision to not lead with the helmet because he kind of turns his body. Like, it would have been easier for him to go all out and lead with his helmet and just try to rock the dude. And he actually does make a conscious decision to make what would be a less dangerous play and still try to break up the play. I mean, that's a clutch play. Like, that's all the guy can do. And it was probably very difficult for the Peach Bowl to find a Georgia defensive player of the game in this game. And I think because Javon Bullard made that one play, like, not only like I'm not like trying to injure anybody, you know, but obviously it was big to knock Marvin Harrison Jr. out of the game. Georgia couldn't guard him, but just how clutch of a moment in the game that was. If he doesn't even get hurt at all, just Georgia had to get a stop in that situation and force a field goal. And that was massive. There was literally, like, I've been in the situation as a Georgia fan so many times where it feels like Georgia has to play the perfect game and still the bounces go the other way and Georgia loses, right? Like the 2017 national championship against Alabama, like there's like 5 or 6 plays that you're like, yep, if that play doesn't happen, Alabama doesn't win. If that play doesn't happen, Alabama doesn't win. It's like 5 or 6 things and they all happen in favor of Alabama. It's like that's what happened in this one. Like if not for that breakup by Javon Bullard, for the timeout for Kirby Smart, like that Brock Bowers 4th and 6 he was able to pick up on the sideline, like even the missed field goal at the end of the game, like a 50-yarder to win it. Like it's not a gimme by any means, but kickers can make 50 yards. I think his 52 was like his target zone to get to. So it's a new era for Georgia football fans where, and also can we put to get to bed the narratives just about Georgia of just like, what if they get in a shootout? What if Stetson has to win a game? Like what if this, like what if that, like this is why Georgia's so good now, is because they can win games in so many different ways. Like I think this was the one team in college football that was capable of beating Georgia if Georgia shuts down the run and makes them one-dimensional. Like this is the only team that could have done it.
I think if Hendon Hooker had this time on a neutral site in the Dome and he had the same amount of time,
no chance, man. Like Tennessee didn't even almost beat Georgia. Like it was not even close. Like the game, they didn't get in the end zone until 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Like this,
you're doing some revisionist history here because they did miss 4 open deep bombs in that game. And
yeah, they missed them. That's part of the game. Guys get open all the time, and guys hit them or miss them. Like,
well, what I'm saying is there's
also 4. How many? I mean, maybe 1 or maybe like 2 the whole game.
No, there were 3 open ones. Brew missed 1. Tillman
but it's like
missed
that's the team. That's who the team is, and they missed those opportunities. Probably because he was under pressure the whole first half, like the whole game, basically.
I am not saying
like
that Tennessee
it all
would be favored.
goes in.
What I'm saying is the same kind of scenario where if you give Hendon Hooker time, as we've seen all year long, if Jalen Carter is neutralized with the double teams like he was in this game.
But those are ifs they couldn't do.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. What happened
Tennessee couldn't do that.
I'm not disagreeing with that. What I am saying is if Tennessee's offensive line played like Ohio State's did in the Dome against Georgia, what I'm saying is they could pull.
But they don't have Ohio State's personnel. They don't have Ohio State's offensive line.
I mean, they were the number one scoring offense in college football this year. They were better than Ohio State on offense for the entire year.
I think it's debatable that they're a better offense than Ohio State. Like,
what is Ohio State better at this year?
Throwing the ball. Like,
no.
Did you watch the Georgia game? Like,
what I'm saying,
they absolutely destroyed Georgia's defense.
They had time.
Use that one because
clean pockets are important, man.
But it's not like someone went out and just like, okay, we're going to give Ohio State time. Tennessee, they're not going to get any time. Like, that was Ohio State that gave their quarterback time.
True,
like,
but
Tennessee
he also
couldn't
deep
do
dropbacks,
that.
and Hendon does the one-step drops, and then Jalen Carter's in the backfield.
It doesn't matter how they accomplish what they accomplish.
Why are you getting so mad about this? All I'm saying is, like, if that scenario where Hendon Hooker has time, like, there's just more opportunities for the Tennessee wide receiver room that is, I think, more talented across the board this year when they were all
than Ohio
healthy.
Chance. No chance.
Jalen Hyatt beat Marvin Harrison for the Biletnikoff Award anyway.
And and he shouldn't have. He's not close to as good as Marvin Harrison Jr. What did he do against Georgia?
But that's what I'm saying. But ultimately, like,
I don't even know if did he play against Georgia? I don't even remember Jalen Hyatt on the field against Georgia.
Why are you trying to hurt my feelings? You just
I'm just saying,
Jalen
Hyatt was balling out because teams forgot he exists. No,
they didn't forget.
He's running wide open 50 yards down the field for half of his touchdowns this year. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Jalen Hyatt's not a first rounder.
Like, he's a first rounder. Absolutely. He's getting great. Look at every mock. He's a first round player.
He's nowhere near the player that Marvin Harrison Jr. is. That's all I'm going to say. And Hendon Hooker is nowhere near the player that CJ Stroud is, especially not the CJ Stroud we saw played on Saturday. CJ Stroud might be the number 1 pick in the entire NFL draft. Like, that's a whole nother level of elite. And that's why I think Ohio State is the only team that had the Jimmies and the Joes to potentially beat Georgia. I think Alabama did not have the playmakers on the outside to beat someone like Georgia. Like, Michigan was not built to beat Georgia. Like, TCU, who knows? If TCU is able to run the ball, no one's really been able to run the ball consistently on Georgia. So Ohio State just had those elite players, and that's what it's going to take to beat someone that's as loaded as Georgia at this point.
I think it's just also great. You have to dominate them up front, and it's really hard to do. Like, it's just one of those.
Exactly.
They deserve a lot of credit for dominating Georgia up front for as long as they did. They weren't even able to really run on Georgia. It was more of scrambles and CJ Stroud using his legs. Like, I thought it was over when CJ had the big run to get them in field goal range to begin with, where it was wide open. I was like, oh, that's it. Like, he did it. Like, Georgia was not accounting for this thing that CJ Stroud has not done all year long. And you're like, man, what are you going to do?
Because that's why I started to say the run game was the key in this game, but I stopped myself because I was like, I think Ohio State is the one team that they might be good enough passing that Georgia can take away the running game and they still have a chance to win. And I mean, you look at what they did on the ground. Just the running backs had 18 for 79 in this game. Like 4 yards a carry. Like it was fine. Like they didn't really make many plays, but the fact that CJ Stroud was actually able to get 30 something yards and just scramble, and more than anything, scramble around and find people. Like that was two of their the one that put them up 21-7. I was like, who is this? Like this is what we've kind of waited CJ Stroud to be. It's kind of what I mean, he was my preseason Heisman prediction. That's kind of what I thought he was going to be coming into this year. And he was just balling. Like I think he may have made himself the number one pick just from this performance tonight.
Bryce Young's pretty good too.
He is, but he's got the prototype size that the NFL wants. And if he's making these Bryce Young type plays, like that was literally the only criticism of him. Like what is he? 5 inches taller and 30 pounds, 40 pounds heavier than Bryce Young. So.
I mean, if Bryce Young is 4 inches taller, it's not even a question who the number one pick is. I also think it's kind of amazing. Like sports is so cruel where it's like Bryce is. I mean, who was the last Alabama quarterback to not win a title at any point during their time at Alabama? And he's the first one. It's like the best Alabama quarterback they've ever had.
The best, yeah.
And
it's interesting too. It's like who won a national championship, Tua or Jalen Hurts? It's like a weird career legacy thing because Tua had 2 years starting and they didn't win the national championship either, and so it's like he's a national champion quarterback. But
he won.
Jalen Hurts is the national champion quarterback. He was the starter on a national championship team, but they don't win the national championship without Tua coming in. So it's a weird kind of legacy thing because they kind of split one. But it's.
Well, speaking of legacy, I want to ask this question for you. Is Stetson now unanimously the greatest quarterback in Georgia history? Like, it's done, right?
I mean, most accomplished, I have a hard time overreacting to the team accomplishments. You know, it's like you put Aaron Murray on a team that's given up 11 points a game for 2 years. Like, I feel like he might win a national championship or two. You put Matthew Stafford on a team, but for what he actually has accomplished, you can't take it away from it. Like the playing big in the big moments. Like you saw the stat come up with what he's done in the fourth quarter of playoff games. It's like 15 of 17, like 5 touchdowns, no picks. Like most outstanding player of the Orange Bowl, most outstanding player of the national championship, SEC champ.